Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the semifinals, I believe, of the Game Rogue Summer Series held in September, of course. I am Alios, being joined by Chief for the first time in too long. I believe that the two of us are paired up on a broadcast, so it should be a pretty good time, I would say.
I'm so excited to see your beautiful face back on the broadcast and hear your beautiful voice next to me. It's been too long, as you said. But a solid semifinal in front of us today, a rematch from round number 3, where it was Thrive almost taking it distance. They ended up losing to Fluffy Aimers at 5-7. So it should be an exciting rematch. And you know what I always say? It's always favors a team that lost that first head-to-head.
Yeah, just the ability to go into a game and be on the losing side gives you a lot more freedom for adaptations and a lot more incentive to kind of change things around than it would if you kind of did stuff that worked. We're going to send things over to map bans real quick, though, just to kind of see the battleground that we're going to be playing on. And Chief, take it away.
It's best of 3 today, and oh no, I've never seen these maps in my life. I stay all the time. Same teams, same maps. It's exactly what you'd expect. Cafe starting things off. Again, I really like Cafe. I like the flow of Cafe. I know people are tending to gravitate towards it. Map number 2, I don't even want to talk about the Dub House. We've seen that a million times, and then a refresher there for Consult. Dude, I love the way the Consult's starting to flow, and I think that's going to be a great decider if we even need that map.
Yeah, it's really kind of been interesting, I think, the way that the map pool has been progressing. Because, as we saw a little while ago, Oregon has been removed from the active map pool it has been replaced by Lair. And Lair hasn't been a staple, but Cafe's kind of replaced the spot that Oregon had initially in the map pool, being kind of, for lack of a better term, the best of one warrior map, the team that a lot of teams are very, very comfortable on, which it's not the map that I expected to do that personally. I would have expected it to be like Nighthaven, but what do I know?
I think it's just for the fact that Cafe is like a legacy map like Clubhouse that has just been around in its current state for at least 4 years, maybe 5, and teams just know how to play it. And sure, some strategies have changed over the years, but more or less you're extremely comfortable with every single possible nook and cranny when it comes to Cafe. So teams tend to lean towards that, and well, we'll just have to see what that means for this series. Again, two very even teams. Going into the operator ban, though, Ali, I don't think anything that's too out of the ordinary other than that cap.
I mean, I think the cap is a target ban specifically towards Thrive, since they do really like Capital. It's a map. It's an operator that if you've seen Thrive play this map before, you've definitely seen Skunky play it. They utilize it very, very effectively on multiple sites, and so it's become a pretty common ban versus Thrive. I believe this is the second. Actually, I think this might be the second time that Fluffy Aimers have banned Capital versus Thrive, just that I've casted. So it is an interesting ban, but it does make a lot of sense once you kind of like look at the teams that we have in the lobby here.
Removing utility and removing strategy is always one of the best things that you can do in the ban phase. I mean, a lot of teams are like, I hate Monty, I hate Ying, so I'm just going to ban them, instead of really using the ban as a potential weapon to disrupt the way an attacking team wants to move around the map. Now, for Cafe, it's so vertical, and it really is going to force a lot of teams to dot their I's, cross their T's, do their homework throughout their clear, especially when you go down to the downstairs bomb site in Kitchen. I mean, it's basically like playing 3 maps in one with each one of these floors, and once you start to incorporate this defending utility on the bomb site itself, the Goyos, the Malusi, Wubwubs, it's so much utility that Thrive can now have to deal with, and it seems like they're more or less bringing the right tools. They have the Ram for that vertical, they have the Buck for that vertical, as well as that Jackal, so they have the necessary tools in their toolbox to start to take that map.
They also have that Ying, which brings a ton of execute utility, both with her Candelas and her smokes, allowing her to dislodge defenders and cut off lines of sight. The Dokkaebi as well, going to work in tandem with that Jackal to make that roam clear go very, very efficiently. Although we are seeing some early aggression from Thrive here, as you will have seen before if you've watched them play. It's something I like to do a lot. Yeah, I like it as well. Unfortunately, though, Rival is going to punish that very early on.
Yeah, 2 deaths from Thrive. I mean, they're basically sitting on their bomb site in their surrounding rooms, and so far punished by Fluffy Aimers. Now the Thrive members, the 3 of them that are left, are going to have to find something in this round to turn the pace. And look at Fluffy Aimers. They said, all right, we've done our homework on that first floor. Let's now start to clear, establish some footholds upstairs, and another death against Thrive. Sure, there's a strong trade, but it doesn't really matter. Now one player left for Thrive. What is Moses supposed to do here, Ali?
I mean, we've seen him in positions like this before, and he has been a very clutch player previously. But Fluffy Aimers is locked in, is going to creep around the kitchen, and doesn't get anything ultimately, as Rival just has that position on lock. And they secure their first round in a quite convincing fashion.
I mean, it seemed like Thrive had almost no pressure on the map whatsoever. Those first two opening deaths, which is an unfortunate scenario. I don't think they're expecting Fluffy to just challenge Coat so aggressively. And you can see what it did to Thrive. It forced them to almost sit in their bomb site proper, except for the one player that tried to go up the red stairs. But when you have those opening deaths against you and the attacking team across the entire map, I mean, you either have to make a play where you're super aggressive to try to bring that man advantage to something equal, play the trade game, or you just die on sight. And we saw Thrive just have a little bit of life in them when they challenged red stairs, but that was a very just siloed defense. They just sat still and died. Now when we go into a new bomb site, hopefully they don't go back to kitchen for at least another few rounds. They can start to be a little bit more dynamic, take map control as a defender. I mean, take those fights, maybe use a deployable shield to fight around, but we just need to see a little bit more dynamic play from them.
Yeah, whenever I casted this exact matchup in the playoffs for Xenon, kind of the point I tried to make with the stats I pulled up was that Thrive like to be really, really quick. And Fluffy Aimers are pretty quick as well, but they're a lot more methodical with being quick. But the thing about Fluffy Aimers that is one of the reasons they're so good right now is that they're very capable of switching up that tempo when it makes sense. Thrive reveals several opportunities for Fluffy Aimers to be aggressive early on and get those picks, and they take them all without any hesitation. And like you said, it looked like Thrive were a little bit unaware that something like that could potentially come. And then when we saw people like Skunky try to get aggressive up staircases later in the round, they were just prepared for it, and they had the refrags ready. Fluffy Aimers like to be very put together as a team, and it oftentimes acts as a net for aggressive teams like Thrive to walk into.
Well, let's see how put together Thrive is as they go back to the kitchen. I'm a sad sheep right now because I like teams to, when they lose a bomb site, it's like, all right, refresh, let's go somewhere else, because you're going to show a new site, you can show a new strategy. But going back to the bomb site, particularly against a team like Fluffy Aimers that is so dynamic and so fast with the way that they attack, you don't want to present them the same scenario, even if you make small modifications. But if we look at the lineup from Thrive, it's more or less a copy and paste from the previous round.
Yeah, both teams have the same lineup here, and it looks like the game plan is, I think, more of what we saw Thrive originally, or Fluffy Aimers, excuse me, originally want to go for on that first attack. Because the first time they just kind of took advantage of the fact that that Thrive gave them so many opening kills. But now they're actually doing more of a full-on take. They're working the vertical plate right now with the Buck and the Ram up top, and they're also starting to poke quite a little bit to see if they can get Candle off of that shield. And so even with the same lineup, Fluffy Aimers can switch up their attack a little bit and still have the opportunity to throw a curveball Thrive's way.
Well, those floorboards being sliced and diced, cut away. New lines of sight being opened up for Fluffy Aimers, and so far, nobody from Thrive yet found. And that's actually a good indicator that the members of Thrive are elsewhere, not in the bomb site, but playing those buff rooms, trying to play little off angles, take aggression. Bakery is going to be one of those areas, Ali, that we're going to look to see if Thrive can swing and challenge. Good thing, though, Fluffy Aimers does have a Candela, but they don't have anything that can dodge those bullets. Moses finds the opening kill, and look at that. Fluffy Aimers now drop 2 attackers, and that's a good start to round number 2 for Thrive.
Yeah, Thrive playing very far back this time in comparison to how they played before, as they just want to waste as much time as they can, which so far is working out. 2 versus 4 here, going into the last 45 seconds. Just Emilio and Deity up against the world, but Deity has gotten a ton of good control of the site here, as he's gotten himself a 2-piece so far. A lot of these defenders are pushed back if they can just get rid of Moses. That opens up so much space for them. But he's being tricky in this position. Skunky gets Emilio as well, off to Deity, and he can't get it done. 3K not enough. The better position being held by Inrio inside of Bakery.
It was just good positioning all around for Thrive. I mean, they held that entire first floor. That's one of the things that I look for if you're going for an anchor. It's not necessarily sitting in the bomb site, it's playing all of the surrounding rooms around that bomb site. Thrive opened up these very long angles, and it kind of lulled Fluffy Aimers into this false sense of security. Fluffy Aimers had all of this map control, all of this vertical. They weren't really able to convert anything off that. That's why they started to converge on that first floor, and they take those gunfights. Those first two gunfights off the rip, loss of those Yin Candelas, I mean, it just crumbles Fluffy Aimers, and then from there, you're in a 5v3, very difficult to overcome, and Thrive just played those positions perfectly. Now Kitchen's going to be locked for them, and it's now time to go to a brand new bomb site, the middle floor. But the good thing is, if you're a fan of Fluffy Aimers, the middle floor bomb site is very similar to that Kitchen site because of the importance of vertical play, just on a new the third floor over my bar.
Yeah, I like the Cap engine to be a very three-dimensional map. As like you said, there are a lot of sites that rely very heavily on the vertical play. You usually see it with Kitchen and the first floor bomb sites, but you can also see it with Cocktail as well, as a lot of teams will send a buck into reading and then dislodge players inside a Cocktail and then swing in the window. So you can play it a lot with the vertical play, although this round, Fluffy Aimers lineup doesn't really lend itself to a ton of vert, as the best vertical operator they have is that Ashe being played by Deity. So we might see something a little bit more horizontal, or something coming up from the first floor, as that's where most of these Fluffy Aimers attackers have started so far. They've also started using that Flores and that Brava to get rid of some of this utility that Thrive have put around the site, so they can eventually look to clear things and carve a way in.
Drones are going to be critical if Fluffy Aimers elects to go for this first floor through second floor clear. Now, they do have some options. They could use those flat place breaching charges, but one of the operators that had flat place breaching charges, the Ashe, now eviscerated a little early on. We saw in round one, Thrive, they ended up dropping 2 players because of aggressive play, but it seems to be almost like a different Fluffy Aimers now, because they try to make plays like that. They just don't seem to have a horse in this race, and round 2's already repeating itself, Ali.
Yeah, but less than half the round is over, and Deity and Rival have fallen. JJ as well, very much worse for wear. And Emilio's going to join him as well off of trying to peek this vertical that the defense has set up here. And by trying to circumvent Thrive's setup in a clever way, they've just kind of ended up playing into their hands. They haven't gotten any proper map control. And most of these players, well, they're dead now, leaving everything up to Recite. Has found his way into Train, and he's trying to pick up this player inside a Piano. He needs something to go his way, but the only person so far that gives themselves up is Candle, putting him in a 1 versus 4. Tries to peek the Hash, but Twist is better in that gunfight. And yet again, Thrive work the map perfectly and stunt the attack from Fluffy Aimers.
Alrighty, why is everybody using the Boss G? I just don't understand it.
I mean, you can like one-shot a lot of operators to the body with it, and it has an ACOG.
But I fear, especially on Dokkaebi, you also have an ACOG, and that the MK DMR are 2 shots. And if you need to open up a hatch, the DMR will be significantly easier to do so. Anyways, I digress. Fluffy Aimers, an awkward attack for them. I mean, they had first floor control, which is not usually the attack that we would expect out of a mid-floor defense, and Fluffy just seemed to be almost discombobulated, like they were taking map control, but just with no real purpose in the round. 2 instantaneous deaths halfway through the round, and just like in round number 2, they just instantly crumble. So, going into round 4, what we're going to be really looking for Fluffy Aimers is them to just come together and play as a team. Show some type of uniform attack where they're playing off each other, going for trades. They just need to put not all their eggs in one basket, but they all just need to be on the same wavelength. I think that's been missing.
Yeah, Thrive is a team that will punish any little gaps that you leave them, any little inconsistencies in your attacks. They are more than comfortable going for that, and going for the spawn peaks as well, which takes out JJ, who more importantly is playing on that Lion, which is a phenomenal operator to lock defenders in place for a little bit. And with the way that Thrive have been playing, not having to worry about that while also having the man advantage is gonna play right into their hands.
It's an awkward start. for Fluffy. You do have other critical attackers that can help break down this, but you're not going to have the information to E1D. One of the things that I'm going to be looking for is how Fluffy Aimers address the castle barricades. We saw that in the previous round, now we're seeing it back here in round 4. You don't really have any long-range destruction unless you're going to use these frag grenades, and those aren't always the most accurate when it comes to dealing with barricades. What it can be accurate, though, is just swinging a window, taking control. Now the A site fully owned by Fluffy Aimers, and this could be a call to put the diffuser down pretty early.
Yeah, 4 versus 2 now. Now 3 versus 2. Make that 3 versus 1 as it's all left up to Inrio. He's not even going to find one as Rival has the better positioning. As finally Fluffy Aimers find the gap and stick their finger in to tear a hole open into the site.
Honestly, I was concerned with the death of JJ early on, but it didn't really matter because Fluffy Aimers, they did one of the things that we talked about. They gathered information and they said, hey, wait a minute, there's only one player in the A site. They're downed by one of my grenades. Let's just take the control. Let's take the opportunity to push the site. And now with that control, you can see what it does to Thrive. It forces them to crash back onto that site, try to directly deal with the challenge up front. But with that bomb site fully compromised, Thrive was just unable to break down that wall. Well done from Fluffy Aimers to saying, you know what, we've been slow, we've been methodical. The previous 2 rounds, rounds 2 and 3, did not go our way. Let's try something different. Let's go back to more of a shock and awe style like we had in round 1. Able to convert round 4, and now they're going back to kitchen where Fluffy Aimers have a 50% win rate so far.
Yeah, the first round that we saw Fluffy Aimers win, Thrive gave up a lot of opening picks very quickly, and that allowed Thrive to, or Fluffy Aimers to just create a web around the site that caught any defenders that tried to move around too much or re-aggress back onto the attack to get those picks back. And then Thrive, when they didn't let Fluffy Aimers do that, when they were the ones setting the pace, it worked much, much better for them. And that pick onto Emilio, not only is he a very good player, but that vertical play that he was going to bring on that Buck is going to be gone. And they do still have the Ram, but Buck is very, very precise with the way he can do his vertical play, whereas Ram is much more general. And so if they need that precision, that's going to hurt them in the long run.
Allie, I'm a little scared. I might need a hug. Do you see what's transpiring over by Garage? Ash breaching charge and a blitz close by. I mean, fortunately, you still have Warded lurking over by VIP, but this could be something where, again, Fluffy Aimers, the 2 rounds that they've been successful in have been off the shock and off fast style of play. What's faster than a blitz 2-2 trade running straight at you? I mean, if you're able to compromise over by Freezer, all of a sudden the players who are sitting in Bakery, they're not really going to have the best line of sight to be able to defend that, but Blitz seems to be almost being used as a jackal, if you will, because they're just roam clearing, making sure that there's nobody upstairs, and this actually could be a good way of breaking the pace of a round.
Yeah, it is interesting the way this round has gone so far, which I think a lot of that slower pace is due to the fact that they don't have Amelia like they wanted. So they're trying to be a little bit more careful to avoid giving up that pick. Again, Rival, though, will find one onto Candle and bring things back, but Twist has the immediate refrag on that. And now JJ's inside a Bakery. He's going to get Inrio, but again, the trades from Thrive come out on top as they maintain this man advantage. Now Recited, repelled on top of this Bakery door, tries to get something back. Deity does, as he gets a pick onto Skunky. 1 minute now, 2 versus 2. As Twist is going to look to get aggressive again here. See if he can find these players, but now just wants to establish that cross with Moses, but Recited gets the better of him. As Moses is going to fall to Recited, or Deity as well, as Fluffy Aimers claw their way back from yet another opening kill from Candle as they secure the round lead once more.
This is why I love Blitz so much, because Blitz doesn't always need to get kills. It's nice that JJ ended up getting a kill, but through JJ's endeavor, it forced Thrive to put the last 3 players over in Bakery, and because of that, the 2 main players of Fluffy Aimers were kind of able to funnel them in positions that they weren't quite comfortable in. They knew that Thrive would be more or less in these fixed positions because of the hard work that JJ did, and it just an easy crash, easy kills from that point. And while the beginning of that round was chaotic and confusing for Fluffy, especially when you incorporate that opening spawn kill death. It really didn't matter, and that's one of the things that I'm always going to be looking for Fluffy Aimers, or really honestly any team that JJ's on. You're going to be looking at his ability to IGL and adapt and call on the fly. That's really one of the hallmarks of JJ on your team, is because they're just such a darn good IGL.
10 seconds left.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things about Blitz specifically that we've been seeing recently is there are a lot of teams who will bring him, and you kind of see Blitz most of the time, I think, and think like, oh yeah, it's going to be a really fast round. But a lot of teams will save that fast pace for the ending of the round, utilizing that Blitz starting to execute after concealing it. So then there's just this force running through the site that you have to pay attention to like a tsunami, and it catches a lot of teams off guard, and like you said, it can be so good to dislodge players even if you can't kill them. And now Fluffy Aimers as well, they're trying to get up to the actual building here without losing any bodies, which so far has been successful, as Kendall has decided to cool his spawn peeking just a little bit here. And we'll see if that extra manpower that Fluffy Aimers has been able to preserve will be impactful going into these last 2 minutes.
So far, you can already see that impact. It allows you just to have more drones, more surface area to grab information, and again, this is something that JJ can put in his brain and start to craft the way that he wants to execute around this map. I like the control that Fluffy has, but now it's time to start to apply a little bit more pressure, start to force the Thrive players down to that middle floor side. That's an awkward angle to take. I mean, Ash has the ACOG now, but still not a gunfight that you want to go against the Doc, and now the fixed position over by Piano is just going to be a little bit stronger. There's your trade, not onto your Doc, but onto the Warden, and with no Ying in play, that Warden pick isn't going to be as impactful in the grand scheme of the rounds.
The shutdown candle, which is always something they'll appreciate, but Inrio is getting another one of his own, as they have managed to get control of Cocktail here, but Inrio is still uncounted for inside of Piano. Might have a player try to rotate up white and retake this together to see if they can dislodge these Fluffy Aimers players. Inrio's just going to cool it here, though. He wants to wait for them to get a little bit more comfortable with his existence being unknown, so you can pounce on them a little bit later.
There's a lot of drones throughout the map. Ah, there we go. All right, Nerio's spotted. That's important information. Now Fluffy Aimers are going to have to make the decision. Do you execute them Doc, or do you leave them upstairs to kind of just run? They're going to go for the gunfight, an easy head-to-head, and now you've dealt with all the players upstairs. Now here comes the real heart of the round with 40 seconds left. You're going to have to deal with the on-site anchors. Oh, this is such a smart play from Skunky. Retake this top floor. You're probably not expecting them to be up here, especially in the 1v3, but it doesn't matter. That's Fluffy Aimers taking the half.
So I would like to point out that the opening kills are 5-1 in favor of Thrive right now, with a lot of those being gathered by Candle individually. But this recovery ability from Fluffy Aimers, the fact that they don't crumble underneath the pressure, even when they're losing very crucial ops. Like, we thought that the Buck opening kill 3 rounds ago was going to be a huge blow to their attack, but they're very good at just adapting and problem solving as issues come up. They're not letting Thrive just get easy picks and then run away with the round, right? We did see them do that a couple of times, but now that Fluffy Aimers have Thrive's number, they're just hanging up whenever it's being called. They're working together so well here, and it's just one of the things that makes them so good and so much fun to watch.
Fundamentals are always going to be so important when it comes to a team, and especially when we've been talking about the strong IGL that JJ is, and Fluffy Aimers looking solid, going to the mid floor for their first showing on defense, and I'm going to be very curious to see how Thrive is able to continue the conversion of opening kills, if that's something that they can maintain on the attacking side. And I actually wanted to modify that statistic once. It's not just 5 opening kills, it's 5 opening kills in a row. The last time that Fluffy Aimers had an opening kill was back in round number 1. I mean, that's something that's probably even more crazy, is like Fluffy Aimers has been giving away picks, and they're still able to convert, and that's probably even more impressive that it was on attack. On defense, it's kind of often you'll see one of your rovers get picked, and if that happens, we'll have to see if Fluffy Aimers is able to just continue just plugging and chugging that they have done.
Yeah, they haven't really been letting that pressure affect them too much. We're going to see Recited over here, aggressive inside of Piano. Looks like he might want to kill a player on Repel, but they have a lot of utility to prevent him from just doing that. Although JJ is going to get aggressive nonetheless on the slit in the window. It looks like Kendall is aware of his position, and he's going to get that pick for the 6th opening kill he has in a row. But the run out proves to be successful, if only for a trade.
That was wild. I love seeing stuff like that. I mean, the trade game is going to be so critical to any defense or offense, really, for that matter. And Fluffy Aimers, while they maintain on the back foot and the man disadvantage, they were able to trade a Zofia, probably not the most impactful, but we do have to add that little wrinkle that there are castle barricades, a real fixture in the Fluffy Aimers defense. So you don't really have the option of dealing that at range unless you start to use the Ash breaching charges, and there's one now deployed. But Fluffy Aimers, man disadvantage, multiple players still on this top floor. The real name of the game for them is to just hold these positions for as long as possible, even if they've been spotted out through the footholds of that castle barricade. They're going to hold their ground at this point.
Minute 10 seconds left here. They have to start clearing out this utility around the site, dislodge these positions the Fluffy Aimers have created for themselves, and then potentially trade their way into a victory. Because they have the man advantage, they have a lot of power here, but Deity is going to take that out of their hands with that pick on to Twist. With only 50 seconds left, the man equality is going to favor Fluffy Aimers, and they're going to know that. Thrive now have to make something happen here. As Moses makes an attempt, Skunky creeping his way up into Bathroom. He's going to get that pick as well. Rival, though, manages to get a trade immediately and equalizes things yet again. Only control the top floor, however. They still have to take the actual site itself, and they only have 20 seconds to do it. Skunky is going to start making vert here as we see Moses creeping around Pillar. He's going to make the drop. He needs to get in here soon, but Emilio has such a good position to stop him. That's Diffuser down. Skunky does drop Laundry. He does get the pick, but Rival, he's just going to play ring around the Rosie. He just has to waste time here. Skunky doesn't have the Diffuser, and it works. Fluffy Aimers, yet again, clear out that man advantage gained by Thrive and give themselves a round.
That was such a solid round from Fluffy Aimers. I know it came down to a 1v1 in the end, but it seemed like Fluffy Aimers, even with the man disadvantage, the early death of JJ, seemed to be in the driving seat the entire round. I mean, it just came down to the utility that Fluffy Aimers brought. The castle barricades upstairs, those reinforced walls that allowed them just to sit in those strong fixed positions and take gunfights. Incorporate the fact that Thrive took lots of 1v1 gunfights, allowing Fluffy Aimers to play the trade game, end up bringing it back to an equal man advantage, and then the utility once again on site, the Fenrir mines, the Blue Sea Wub Wubs. I mean, it was just a perfect defense, and honestly, if you want to copy a strategy and add it to your T3 deck, that's probably the one to do, because that was just impeccably done from Fluffy Aimers. It was so good, Ali, that they're going to say, you know what, reading and feeding worked perfectly for us. It's time for mining and dining.
It does present an opportunity for Thrive to adapt a little bit, since it's, like you said, essentially the same site, but just with a different room. Although Fluffy Aimers, they will be aware of that, given that this is a strategy which they have designed. And so we'll get to see how they look to counter that knowledge. Recited's going to go for an early peek onto Candle, which isn't going to be successful, but it does trade damage in the favor of Fluffy Aimers. We see the Brava drone as well start to work on some of this utility around the extremities of the map, which could allow for potential lurk opportunities later if Thrive look to go for something like that. And they still have that Twitch as well, which could be massive in dismantling even more utility in combination with that Brava.
I also like the extra presence that those drones bring, because it just allows you to gather more information. If you're not using them for the utility, hacking, or destruction ability of those two drones, it just allows you to gather more information. And a team like Thrive, I think they need to have pinpoint accuracy and exactly where Fluffy Aimers are playing at all times, because again, it's more or less the same style of defense from Fluffy Aimers. Multiple players upstairs holding very aggressive angles, waiting for attackers to come to them. If you have essentially 4 extra drones, it just allows you to gather more information and hopefully challenge these strong held positions together as a team. That was one of the things I was lacking from Thrive in the previous round. Now, Rival, the opening death. And hey, once again, how many opening deaths is this? 7 in a row for Thrive?
Candle's gonna tag on as well onto Deity. Both of the two huge players from the last round are dismantled with no answer back from Fluffy Aimers. This is gonna prompt Poseidon to get a little bit adventurous over towards Pillar and just see if he can potentially find anything. But Thrive aren't giving away easy fights here. They know they're in the advantage, and they want to make Fluffy Aimers suffer under this man deficit as much as they can. Especially with only a minute left in the round, the execute has to come very soon here.
These Legion lines are going to do a good job of slowing down Thrive, and Thrive's going to have to be mindful of this clock. With 50 seconds left, with so much good control, they're in a really solid position, but you can't be giving away deaths like Skunky just suffered. You have to be playing together as a team. That's been a critical point for me for Thrive, and there's no trades still, and the longer that this round goes around, it goes for, I mean, Fluffy Aimers, even with the man disadvantage, still put themselves in a strong position.
Yeah, they're not going to crack underneath that pressure, especially with the Doc. They can heal themselves up after going for these fights. JJ's going to get yet another one and equalize that man count. Now, Twist as well, taking a ton of damage inside of Pillar. These mines from Rival, even in death, are making it so awkward. Recited as well. Emilio tags on for another one. All left up to Candle, and he can't get anything as JJ himself carries his team across the finish line, getting that last pick and securing map points.
A 3v5 for Fluffy Aimers to shut down Thrive. I mean, Thrive is doing their best to find opening kills. We said 7 opening kills in a row for Thrive, and still unable to convert the early man advantages both across their attacks and defenses. I mean, it comes down that Fluffy Aimers just seems to be playing their positions better and simply winning their gunfights when it matters. So far, Thrive has not really presented an opportunity to trade. As soon as one of their teammates die, like Skunky in the previous round, nobody from Thrive anywhere near that area code to find that trade. That's going to be the critical mark that Thrive needs to adjust in this round, Ali, if they want to continue playing Cafe. Fortunately, it is a best of 3, so there are other maps to go. Dub House on the table for map 2, and Fluffy Aimer is about to send us there very quickly.
Another thing I'd like to point out is just look at the KDs from Fluffy Aimers. Only 2 players that are negative, and that's even only by 1. And the other 3 are all positive by at least 3 kills, if not 4. And just that, it's spread out so evenly because no one player is having to do all of the heavy lifting. You can't just kill a Rival and say the top frag is dead, we're fine, because then Deity and Recited can pick it up. And even Emilio and JJ have been very clutch when they need to be to lock Thrive out of this site. And just that ability to spread the load across every player is part of why we're seeing them do so well right now. And just that inability so far to do that with Thrive, with a couple players trying to carry all of the torches, it's just not working out for them at all.
Alrighty, Thrive. It's time for something different. It's time for something fresh. You gotta do something in this round, and having one of your R60 cars detonate in the middle of a hallway, not exactly the change-up that I wanted for them. Oh! A spawn peek, and what do you know, Ali? Another opening death against Fluffy Aimers.
8 in a row, baby!
Yeah! But will Thrive be able to do something with that? That's gonna be the real question, because so far they haven't. It's really just been unable to convert. Strong bakery control, but they don't check for JJ lurking in a corner. There's a potential trade. I would love to see this trade, but JJ ends up getting that other kill. Thrive deleted in 2 different instances. Oh no, it's just Candle. On a 1v4, 100 seconds left. What do you do, man?
1v4 for the map. We see a player outside as well. They want him gone. Player inside of Smallbake as well, peeking him. That's 2 kills in a row for him now. Suddenly this looks so much more doable. He wants to find this mute playing upstairs, but Rival is going to play this smart. He doesn't want to give Candle anything else. It's all left up to him and JJ. See Candle slowly skirting around, trying to find anything, using that little bit of utility he has left to make his movement around the map easier, but that's going to telegraph his position to these last two defenders who aren't giving him any space at all. If he tries to go anywhere, even with that failed Nitro Cell, he's going to get shot in the face or blown up potentially, which is going to prompt him to move a little bit. Flash goes out. He's trying to find something, anything to get a foothold in this site. But the two defenders are playing off of one another. They know he doesn't have the diffuser. They know the clock isn't on his side. And every second he wastes, every second to think or move, is time down the gutter. He's going to walk right into this crossfire. Both players are ready. Flash goes out. Swing goes out. Only deals damage. Has to go back in, go for that fight. We see the Mute go prone. JJ with the swing. And yet again, the opening pick doesn't matter because Fluffy Aimers have that on lock.
Fluffy Aimers just simply look like the better team in that series, which is so weird to say because our favorite new stat is Thrive won every opening gunfight except for the first round. And it just seemed like Thrive, they would do so many things well, and I think when it just came down to like, oh, we got the opening kill. Oh my god, we got it. And then they just kind of like, I don't know, like overhyped themselves and just put themselves in bad positions. I think a lot of the times when an IGL is kind of given that space because one of your players did such a good job on that opening kill is they don't really know how to guide their team, use the drones to continue to gather that real estate, and Thrive just kind of crumbled under the pressure. They never really set up strategies where they're able to trade, where they're able to deal with hard-held positions, and it was just awkward moments for Thrive after the first 30 seconds of every single round, and in particular those executes. We never really saw a true plan come together for the Thrive execute. It was always just a mad scramble in the last 30 seconds of the round just to say, hey, we have to get this diffuser, we have to put it on the ground, let's just see if we can continue to win our gunfights, and you just can't rely on that strategy against Fluffy Aimers.
Yeah, they were so cool, calm, and collected in those last seconds, especially once they got to the point where they knew Thrive had to execute. They just wouldn't give any space up. That being said, though, we're going to send things over to a quick break just to get the next map right and give the players a chance to recuperate a little bit. So don't go anywhere, though, because we will be right back momentarily.
15K on the line for Thrive as they end up dropping map number 1 against Fluffy Aimers. It was a 2-7, Allie, and it was a strong 2-7 at that. It was Fluffy Aimers just able to shut down everything that Thrive threw at the wall, and even Thrive having 7 opening kills in a row, it didn't matter at all. That 7-2 victory hurt for Thrive. Now we go over to the dub house. Will it be a dub house for Fluffy Aimers, or will Thrive be able to, well, fix their problems and adjust? Chief Casts, Aliosis here, and, well, let's see what they can do, Ali.
I find it interesting, just kind of the progression of that last map. Because like you said, 7 opening picks in a row, and Thrive only converted 2 of them, and that is something we harped on a lot in the previous map. But there is a very good reason for it, because that opening kill is so important in games like Rainbow Six, just because it gives you so much room to breathe. And there were a lot of rounds where Thrive would pick off very crucial operators and still not convert that round. And it happening 7 times in a row, or 5 times in a row, if you don't count the times that they won the round, is wild.
I mean, yeah, like, I know it's blunt, but it is sloppy. Like, statistically, you should win the rounds that you have an opening kill on. And the only fact that they converted 2 of their 7 opening kills is just a little awkward. And I think that's just one of those moments where you come into this break between maps and you're like, all right, guys, we're doing things well. In fact, we're doing probably one of the hardest things in the game to do well, finding that opening kill. Probably the second hardest would, or I guess the hardest thing in the game is to actually win the round. The second hardest would be to find that opening kill. And they're converting those opening kills consistently. You just sit your team down and you talk about, hey guys, you know what? We're doing it so well. Let's just slow our roll. Let's play together as a team. I think that's the key aspect. If you play together as a team instead of relying on the incredible gun skill that you have, that could be the thing that converts for Thrive. Now, the Gamers, they're going to be starting on the defense. We saw how strong their defense was. I think that's really what lopsided that decision, was because the Fluffy Aimers, they would drop sometimes 2 defenders, and they could still hold their fort well. So what will Thrive bring to the table to potentially break that, Ali? It's going to be a blitz again.
I expect we're going to see a little bit of that late round blitz that I was talking about last map. Instead of using that for a rush, I'd imagine we're going to see Thrive kind of clear things out a little bit, then bring it out during the execute. Could see Resida get a potential execution onto an attacker, however, as he is very aggressive towards the stock side. But thus far, nothing adequate has revealed itself to him. And Deity playing on those main stairs as well. Even though they are anchoring, they want to remain aggressive on some of the extremities of this map, just to make sure that Thrive don't take too much ground for free. He is going to fall back once pressured, though, because ultimately his goal is to stay alive here.
Reside's roam's not that large of one. I mean, you'd expect some roamers to be coming back in the last, minute of a round. You'd expect somebody who's a long sight setup to be coming back in the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds of a round. So that's critical information to Thrive that says, hey, one of the players that was offsite has returned really early on, and something if Thrive is very smart, can take early on and, well, be able to convert to map control early. But they didn't expect multiple players to be on the main stairs, and that's the blitz. That's your linchpin in this round already removed, and that's not a comfortable position to be in, especially when that was the player that you were expecting to do something, well, cheeky with. Now without that option, you're going to have to go back to Old Faithful, and that's going to be using place breaching charge to create line of sight into the bomb site.
They do still have that buff to do some of that as well, but Twist is on such low HP that even just the tail end of a stray Nitro Cell will be enough to put him on the ground, or potentially below it inside of a grave. Just have to see how things progress. They do have a good bit of time to work things here, but now they have to figure out how to execute without that crux of that blitz that they brought initially, and especially with, again, that low HP that Twist has, he's not going to be fully prepared for these gunfights that Thrive will need to take in these final 60 seconds.
Lots of mirror windows, but fortunately for Thrive, they've opened up the hatches. That's going to be avenues that they could potentially avoid those mirror windows. You can also use an Ash Breaching Charge to deal with that. So while that's still a fixed position that Fluffy Aimers can fight around, they won't have that vision to see what's exactly taking place from Thrive. But Ali, Thrive's going to have to start to move a little bit faster. I mean, there's not a lot of time left. You're now just opening up Dirt Tunnel. This is a new avenue to create a crossfire, but with 30 seconds left, Thrive's going to have to go.
Go very, very quickly indeed, and especially since Inrio gets shut down, Candle's going to make his way down blue as well. He's flashed by his teammate, however, as Twist is inside of Moto. They're aware of where these attackers are, and they're shutting them down. Twist hits the deck. Moses gets the refrag. Still 4 versus 1, however, as Moses has to make everything work. But Big JJ has that knife in the back, as Fluffy Aimers claim a convincing opening round on Clubhouse.
My first instinct, I was like, ooh, extra money for getting the knife kill. I've been playing too much Counter-Strike. What can I say? I was like, yes, extra money to the bank.
$1,500.
Yeah, woo, op. I guess you can bring the Boss G. That's op-like. Oh wait, Valorant has that new double barrel sniper thing, right?
Oh yeah.
There we go. You can buy that.
Though.
I don't play Valorant. I don't know. I just know it
I think
exists.
it's been at least 2.5 years since I've had that game installed.
I was convinced the other day to play Valorant. Continue playing Rainbow Six Siege. That's all I can say. Regardless,
I endorse this message.
I endorse, yeah. Signed by Chief and Ali. Play Rainbow Six Siege. You'll have fun. Anyways, well, favors. Good start to round number 1. I mean, I have good news for you. Remember 8 opening kills in a row for Thrive? That's been broken. Fluffy Aimers finds their first opening kill since round number 1 of Cafe. That's bizarre. And it was on the Blitz, who makes their return. Skunky is going to say, you know what? The first round, it was just a little bit of a mistake. We're going to go back to the drawing board and see how we can really rely on this Blitz. And I like Blitz on just about any bomb site because it forces you to close that distance quickly. And the way that Fluffy Aimers play is just lock down and hunker down in these fixed positions. Blitz is kind of like the best dog to go, like, route somebody out.
Certainly do agree there. It'll be interesting to see how they deal with him this time. Because last time they just kind of killed him when he like went for an early kill, and that forced them to be so much more passive than they definitely would have wanted to be. We're probably going to see him come into play on this position over by Cash, and another opening pick is going to take place here with DD taking out Twist. That's that buck off the board, which means any vertical play is going to have to be done by the Ash now, and she's so much less effective at it. Kendall's being halted at top red, however, because of this position that's being held by this player in the shield.
All right, Thrive, what are we doing? We're so focused on Cash CCTV when it's a gym bedroom defense that you're going to have to start to move. There goes the That's perfect. That's exactly what you need to do. The perfect crossfire to prevent those players who are playing Cash CCTV to return to site. That was well set up crossfire, and that was well executed from the Blitz that forced those players to leave those positions. The unfortunate thing was that was your Warden, probably the best operator to deal with the Blitz and stand still to take that fight. Fluffy Aimers now with a significant disadvantage. They're going to have to hold playoff angles and using Rival from below to hold this hatch, binding their P's and Q's towards that doorway is an excellent example of how to do that. And Thrive, after finding those 2 kills, they're slowing things down, they're getting back on their drones, they're gathering information, and probably even more importantly, they're setting up more crossfires and sending their Blitz to go hunting.
Rival's going to be forced down into the basement here, and Skunky is going to continue going after him. This is going to waste time, however, that he's not going to be able to get back. But Rival, he's going to look to immediately walk up blue stairs here, which is going to leave his team as vulnerable to exactly what Candle does. As now Rival's in that 1 versus 4. He has the Cash side, but Candle nullifies that advantage. As Thrive claim one of their own and tie us up as we go into round 3.
I was so concerned when Thrive lost the opening kill to the Buck taking vertical against the Warden, and then that stall from Thrive, but they did such a good job of making sure Candle was in the right position to cut those two players are turning back into Khan, using the blitz as that, well, I guess that lever to force those players to either stand and fight or die trying. That was so well done. And then from there, Thrive has such a large man advantage. They can swarm the site. They can have Blitz go on a solo hunting mission. It was just brilliant from Thrive. I'd like to see them trying to replicate that. Or if they have the other option, which it seems that they're leaning towards Alley, they're going to go with a completely different attacker lineup. And because of that, they can just basically say, all right, I saw what you did, Fluffy Gamers. Now let's do something different. You're going to have to adjust your defense to something you haven't even seen yet.
10 seconds to insertion.
Yeah, especially with the Legion being brought up by JJ, which I definitely think he's an adaptation specifically for the Blitz. Although it will be useful in any of these operators. We actually are going to see the Blitz be brought out again, so the Legion is still going to come into effect. And it's being placed over towards cash side, as that is typically the most, like the first place you're going to see that Blitz be utilized. But Twist on the Dokkaebi could potentially get a lurk going as Recida gets that opening pick. And then Rival's going to follow up with another one as Fluffy Aimers, they're still controlling the pace of this game, not missing a beat while recovering from that last round. Now, you still do have that Blitz for Thrive, but it becomes less effective with less guns up to play around it.
I don't even know where Thrive has gone in this lobby. They basically been like eviscerated. Like they just went into the Nether and just disappeared into sawdust or something along those lines. So Thrive, how do we overcome this? Well, that's going to be facilitated by those roly-poly drones gathering information, and you also incorporate the Dokkaebi calls too. That's going to be real-time information to know exactly where those defenders are. And while it's the same bomb site that Fluffy Aimers brought out in the previous round, it's a completely different attack from Thrive. It's slower. Two players have already died, and look at the fallback from Fluffy Aimers as well. They're already in Khan and Logi. They don't want to hold cash. They learned their lesson the hard way in the previous round, and now that Thrive occupies his territory, here comes a Blitz. They're going to have to use it like they did in the previous round, but look at what Fluffy Aimers have done. They're just going to fall away. They don't want to challenge this Blitz, and it's so well done, but the thing is, every time they fall away, that gives Thrive a little bit of fun.
They're wasting a good bit of time, however, as only a minute 20 seconds remain. And they're also reinforcing some of these extremities, and while trying to get aggressive, Twist gets shot in the back. Deity as well gets one of his own. And a second onto that Blitz, as no matter what Thrive do that round, Fluffy Aimers have the answer they need to lock them out of the site.
I love that reinforcement there because you can see what Thrive did. They're like, oh, reinforcement, let's get a kill. And then they get swung from the Condor. That was well played. And I think that was just like, that illustrated the entire defense from Fluffy Aimers. And one of the things that we've seen across Cafe as well is Fluffy Aimers just are constantly playing together as a team. And it doesn't seem like they're individuals. They're just one collective hive mind that is always moving and pushing together as just this cohesive unit. Everybody's on the same page. And Thrive just can't seem to break that wavelength. They constantly are playing as individuals. Thrive is constantly making these mistakes. And they had a solid round two, just unable to convert that all into round three. The Blitz was kind of this niche thing in round two, not at all present in round three, even though selected. And I like the change up from Thrive. You're going back downstairs to a basement execute. Blitz really didn't pay any dividends in that round. Let's focus on the Dokkaebi. Let's focus on the roam clears, and let's funnel Fluffy Aimers downstairs into the basement, and then utilize our hard breach and take that control that way.
You see some early round aggression potentially here from a couple of these Fluffy Aimers players. Although this is right into, and they are going to fall back pretty quickly here, or at least Rival is. Because they want to get aggressive here and force Thrive to be uncomfortable and potentially get that opener for themselves, but they don't want that to come at the expense of bodies. JJ, though, is getting a little bit more adventurous towards that bar side of things. So not everything's being given up, and we also see Recida getting quite adventurous over on CCTV as well. JJ is going to have the first bit of contact here, or he's just going to run away now that he's made his position known. Rival, though, is going to get killed off. JJ's going to go for something aggressive, and it pays off. He gets that refrag onto Candle, and now Recida is here to back him up as well. as they're just maneuvering around this map and doing things to make Thrive uncomfortable in their positions. And decided he's taken up that position that JJ just vacated, so that they're not going to expect him to be here.
That's such a big brain play, and they have the default cameras still active as well. You just gotta shoot those. I mean, that's just basics there. And you found them, though. I think that was just over-aggressive on the side of Fluffy Aimers, and that's good news if you're a Thrive fan. You've now dealt with the two roamers. You have all the flexibility and all the time in the world to start to deal with these matches. The thing is, with 90 seconds left on the clock, though, you do have to do this in somewhat of a quick fashion. Send those drones downrange, get information, and then start to crack open those hatches. And I have a concern, though, that Thrive doesn't seem to be moving with a lot of emphasis on the importance of taking this map control that they were given from Fluffy Gamers. And we've seen what happens to Thrive, particularly on Cafe. It was our big example of this. When Thrive gets to the last 30-ish seconds of a round, they just kind of get carried away. They get just caught up in just trying to push the bomb site. That's something they can't do. They have to be very mindful and tactful with everything they have to do, and we have to be watching that clock as they do it too.
Have to be mindful of the time here, as is Fluffy Aimers, as they've started reinforcing off some things they weren't actively using, which is going to limit the avenues that Thrive have to get into the site here. We're going to have to see them go for something pretty quick, which is probably going to be a kitchen execute off of that hatch, just based off of where Moses is playing right now, along with Skunky. And Skunky is in a very good position to drop here, which is probably going to do momentarily, as we only have 15 seconds left in this round. The flashes go out, the players go out, but JJ has one. And we see Deity have one as well. Emilio will fall. And the bomb is going to start going down, but it's 2 versus 1 while that happens. Moses gets a kill, though. Deity gets a refrag, and he can just run over to the plants. And that's all she wrote for this round, as yet again, Fluffy Aimers recover from that disadvantage and win the round.
It just comes down to, I don't even want to say time management, because it's not really that. It's almost like this sense of panic, if you will, when it comes down to the execute. It's like there isn't this established plan from Thrive. They're good at the beginning round. They're great at the mid round. But when it comes down to the execute alley, I just haven't been shown a cohesive plan from Thrive's execute. They're not demonstrating to me that they have, like, we're planting the bomb here. We know that there's players in XYZ corner, and we're able to just deal with them. They just seem to be like, YOLO drop a blitz to blue hatch. They just seem to be just swinging corners and hoping for the best. It's like, you have these drones. We saw drones on the bomb site during those last 15 seconds. So it's not like Thrive didn't have the ability to gather this information. It just seems like somewhat of a lack of planning. Maybe there's a lack of leadership when it comes to the IGLing department of this team, but it's just these small little mistakes from Thrive in those last 30 seconds of a round that they've just been unable to convert. And now Thrive, I guess there is an opportunity here for them, Ali. They're going to go to a brand new bomb site that Thrive has yet to execute on.
Yeah, so when I casted Thrive vs. Fluffy Aimers in the playoffs for Xenon Gaming Series, one of the things that I noticed between the two of them was that Fluffy Aimers were just strategically way more sound than Thrive tended to be. Whenever we'd see Thrive go for a lot of very aggressive things early on, but they were always rebuffed very, very effectively, as it never seemed to catch Fluffy Aimers off guard. And that's the exact thing we're seeing here. And we're also seeing that Fluffy Aimers aren't afraid to get freaky themselves, as we see that challenge onto Moses sitting all the way out on that AC unit. No matter what Thrive are doing, Fluffy Aimers aren't afraid to meet them at the door, or even just prevent them from getting to the door in the first place. Even when they brought that blitz, it didn't scare them at all.
It's not like it wasn't a close matchup last time these teams met in round 3. I mean, it was a 5-7 win for Fluffy Aimers. That's certainly close. I mean, if Candle makes plays like that, you could definitely see Thrive taking that step forward, but that's a great trade. And that's something that Fluffy Aimers has been just good with. It's been consistent trades. And now look at Thrive. They're all stacked over. Cast CCTV. Oh, that's such a brilliant play. I don't know if he can get to confirm unless you use a toxic gas grenade, and that should be Twizzler dead. And Oh, maybe they can crawl out of it. Oh, that's so lucky. That's a res, back up to 20 HP, but that's going to be an audio cue. And remember, it's a smoke. They can push through their own gas grenade, and that's an opportunity for Fluffy Aimers to get the kill, but I don't think that you're going to want that. In fact, JJ has fallen back to the site, and honestly, that utility is probably best used elsewhere. In a particular instance where Thrive starts to push those sites, you cut off those fatal funnels and deny entry into the bomb site.
JJ still playing aggressively inside of CC here. If they go for this window, he wants to know about it. But he can also smoke off that construction doorway or even top red if he needs to, just from the position that he has taken up. We're going to see Rival look to potentially go for a run out or just retake this Raptors area, which is something that Thrive probably won't expect, and it is pressure from an unexpected place. JJ, though, he's going to secure that kill into Twist he failed to obtain earlier and play more aggressively here. Still, he wants to make Thrive uncomfortable, and he's doing it so well. There are only 25 seconds left, and there's equality in the man count between the attackers and defenders. Capitao can do a lot to cut off these sight lines and take down JJ, but there's still a crossfire held between Rival and Emilio, and only 10 seconds left to get into this bomb site. Rival, you're looking at it, you need to pull the trigger. It's not enough, though, as the defenders are caught off guard, isolated from one another, as Thrive take that round.
It's really interesting that it took Thrive so long to bring out the Capitao. We were talking about how most teams just instant ban Capitao against Thrive. It's one of their strongest operators because of the ability to cut off lines of sight with those smoke grenades, as well as deny area with those fire bolts. And look what it did to Thrive. They looked like a well-oiled machine. They looked like the team that ended up losing to Fluffy Aimers 5-7. They were playing together as a team. They were trading. Sure, there were some mistakes along the way with Buck going DB&O, but it didn't matter because Thrive was finally playing the trade game. They looked completely different in round number 5. It was perfect for them. If they carried this momentum over, particularly with Capitao returning back to their attacking lineup, I could see this going 3-3 and then eventually a victory for Thrive if they carry the momentum, and that's the critical thing. They have to learn their lessons from round 5 and convert to
10 seconds to go.
Not seeing the blitz this time for this gym attacks.
5
It seems
seconds
like
to go.
Thrive have decided to retire that operators. It hasn't been working out for them most of the
Capitao's
time.
gone.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb
And the
defuse
Capitao
it.
you're talking about is gone as well. They do have that Flores on the Twitch, so there is a ton of utility destruction when combined with that Ash. And Skunky on that Dokkaebi has worked some magic as well. But yet again, we see Fluffy Aimers looking to get aggressive, looking to set that pace and deny the tempo that will be favored by Thrive. And Rival's in an interesting position here. If someone tries to walk up Rafters, he can potentially get a kill on them with the C4, or he could also rotate up to those secret stairs and try to fight back up red if need be, just depending on how this attack from Thrive goes.
Lots of flexibility from that player just to move around the map and just be a nuisance for Thrive. And also, Ellie, you're not really going to be sending a drone down into Oil Pit to identify that roamer. So potential late flank as well if you wanted to be a little odd and go up the ladder. Oh, almost spotted one. And this is what I like. JJ's just taking the initiative to be aggressive, but you just can't peek at DMR at that range. SMG-11 recently nerfed. You're just not going to win that gunfight. And Thrive, there's a few things on their bucket list that they need to accomplish. The first one was a Selma successfully detonating into CCTV. And now here comes the cash hold. They found one. You still have to deal with the Warden. That's an awkward gunfight. A perfect trade. Fluffy Aimers has been good with that all series long. And look at the way that Fluffy Aimers is holding. They want to fight cash CCTV to the death, and they're good for that. There's the flank up the ladder, and all of a sudden, Skunky left in a 1v4. All their teammates have died around them, and you're in the bomb site. That's all fine and dandy. That's brilliant to get a kill as well, but the diffuser on the other side of the map, Allie, it may as well be a Narnia. You're being monitored by the Valkyrie cameras as well. It's such a difficult position to be in.
Only a minute left to get things done, and they know it here. They're not going to give him anything to work with, even with this Dokkaebi call. We see a crossfire has been established by Fluffy Aimers. If he walks in here, he dies. And it happens as DD secures that kill, and the 4-2 for Fluffy Aimers as they look to carry the boat over the finish line, as they only need 3 more rounds.
That was an interesting round from Thrive. It almost looked like they were able to accomplish it, but I think I would have been happier with a Capital. I know we were hyping them up. We've been saying they are the Capital team. They showed me the Capital, and then they tease me, and then 6-pick it away. Flores has been played multiple times by Thrive, both here on Clubhouse as well as on Cafe, and we've really never seen impact from that operator. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day, Ali, because it's a 4-2 half for Fluffy Gamers. They now go over to their attacking side, so everything that Thrive was doing on attack, it's not going to be relevant unless we enter into overtime here on Clubhouse. And the way that Fluffy Gamers has been playing, it seems like they're currently in the pole position, in the driver's seat for now, but everything changes when you go over to attack. It's a brand new ball game, and let's see how they're able to adapt to this new change.
I like the Goyo that we're seeing be brought out by Skunky. That's a lot of stall power. And with how aggressive we know Thrive like to be, those two things in combination can leave a little time left, which is a perfect situation for the defenders, especially if they can continue the trend that we saw last map of them having 8 opening kills in a row. If they can just get better at converting that and wasting that time, that could be so good for them. But with a couple roamers upstairs without a ton of fallback, there could potentially be the opportunity for cutoffs or just an outright manhunt of this Legion that we see upstairs.
No Jackal to help that manhunt, so you're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way with your drones. You don't even have the blitz to kind of have that as a pseudo roam clear like we saw Thrive do, and I guess that was back in round number 1 and round 2, and drones being dispatched. You found 1, that's all fine and dandy. That's Kando, who has the opportunity to fall away, but remember, they're playing the Vigil. They can start to cloak and just continue to exist in the same spot, forcing Fluffy Gamers to re-drone. That's the power of Vigil. Everything that you do, all the homework that you gather, it really doesn't matter. Or, that's also another way of not making it matter. 2 easy kills, that's exactly what we went for Thrive. And remember, they've had 2 opening kills before on Clubhouse. They had 7 in a row, or 8 in a row, in fact. They've been in a 5v3 before and have lost it. So it's very important that they stay together. Oh boy, that was a missed opportunity. That could have been a 3v3 right there, but mistakes were made, and now here comes the roam hunt. You still have an opportunity to pinch this player and catch the CTB.
They're going to try to get him, and Recited does get him. That's the 3 versus 3 you were talking about. They can secure that diffuser control as well. And with this ace, and potentially Buck, if he has hard breach charges, they do have an opportunity to open up some hatches and take some more control. But the Thrive players here aren't looking to back off. The belly flop onto garage floor kills the player there, takes Skunky down. Candle still tucked inside a bathroom. He wants a player to walk down and not check that corner. But Fluffy Gamers not looking to go there just yet, taking a little bit of time, opening up other areas of the map, and potentially making that position null and void, as they're going to be careful here. They know someone's going to do something cheeky, and Candle, he does get 1. He gets the pick onto Emilio, then he falls back just a little bit. His next contact is going to be with Recited, playing inside of Kitchen here. So far, neither one of them want to rear their heads. They know there's probably not someone inside a Kitchen right now, but Rival's going to get killed off by a Goyo canister. Moses has that pick onto the last player, and Thrive secure a pretty, not convincing necessarily, but certainly an earned opening round on this defense.
And it was earned because they found 2 kills early on. Fluffy Gamers, sure, they're able to find those trades on the roam clear, but Thrive still put themselves in the winning position because they were playing off angles the entire round. You could see what it did to Fluffy Gamers. They just weren't expecting players to be sitting in corners throughout the duration of the round. And it forced Fluffy Gamers to, especially in those last 20 seconds, to make a decision. Do you go for the roam clear with 20 seconds, or do you go straight for the side execute? One of the operators that you highlighted was those Goyos. That was one of the things that you liked the most because of the ability to waste time. When you incorporate that with the aggressive roam that Thrive has, it was just a success for victory. But it's a new bomb site. You were downstairs in the basement, now you're going back up to Gym bedroom, and no Goyo to be seen, but you have another operator to waste as much time as possible. You're bringing out the Legion.
5 seconds to go.
We're seeing one of the mirror windows be placed in not a bad spot, but when you don't see as much as usually you'll see it placed on the construction wall inside of Logi, as well as on that bathroom wall facing out towards the jacuzzi platform. Not a bad place necessarily, but just not the default that we usually see them, though I'm sure they have a purpose for it. Then we're going to see Moses attempt a bandit trick over by CCTV here, as we see Recited look to get Lurky here with that Dokkaebi. He has that Boss G, so if someone pokes their head out just a little bit, even a shot to the torso, is probably going to be a down, if not a kill. And plus, with him playing Dokkaebi, he can be silent and stealthy as she moves fast and quietly, being a 3-speed.
I don't know if I'm a boomer or if I'm just a hater, but I just can't co-sign the Boss GA card. It just feels so memey, I guess. I mean, it used to be a beam gun back in the day, and I guess maybe, you know, being an absolute dinosaur, I still just expect it to be a meme cannon. The operator that would have the option of bringing that Boss G on the defensive side has been removed. That's Vigil, and it was Candle in the previous round that was playing that operator, and, well, don't know if they had it. Doesn't really matter. Another kill, and look at this control for Fluffy Aimers. I mean, it's almost knocking on the threshold of the bomb side. I mean, this is such fast executability, and that's another kill for Deity. I mean, just swinging around door frames. Thrive has 90 seconds left in this round, but 3 players have already crumbled.
They've been unable to stunt this aggression that Fluffy Embers have been throwing at them. And now Moses is going to be the next victim that he gets 1. It's all up to Skunky, though. 3 versus 1. Plant is going down. He's blind. Rival gets that pick. As Fluffy Embers find their groove, they've read into how these defenses for Thrive are going to look. And they can continue that into these next rounds.
Who needs Yin Candelas when you could just whip your entire arsenal of flashbangs at somebody? That sucks, bro. It just completely milked white. I think that was like 4 or 5 flashbangs that hit them. That's so unfortunate. That's just a GG go next. Move on to the next round for them. I mean, that was incredible for Fluffy Aimers. I mean, just to take Deity, to take that map control so swiftly. I mean, they won gunfights and just made them look easy. Thrive just bulldozed in that round, and they're going to say, all right, round 8, kind of a fluke. Fluffy Aimers, they hit us hard, but we can go back, we can reset up our gym bedroom, and I think that's actually a fair assessment from Thrive. It's very unlikely that you're going to have a player pop off so aggressively, especially if you start to just reset yourself up over CAF CCTV. You still are bringing your Mira, you still have your Legion, and you also are bringing back Castle. Maybe you put more Castle barricades and more emphasis on holding CAF CCTV with that utility and just overall slowing down the execute. There's a Kali in play, by the way. That's going to be something special.
Wait, you can get rid of those castle barricades from a distance, and she's honestly not a bad operator to hold highway just from, like, the roof over by garage. Since if you peek into that 12x scope, there's a good chance that you never peek again. But we'll have to see if that's the plan they're going to use her for. Combined with the floors, though, there's a lot of ability to just destroy the gadgetry that's being brought by Thrive here. Twist is on that Vigil yet again as we see CC wall get open. There's a player on Rafters this time. Twist is going to get an opener onto Deity. That's the hero of the last round, shut down completely. As Thrive have put a lot of emphasis over on this cast extension, which could come back and bite them later, but so far it's working out very well.
Yeah, the hold from CAF CCTV, the hold from Garage is just wasting so much time. It looks like a completely different round for Thrive. And Fluffy Aimers are spending a lot more utility during this round. They're using those Flores drones to deal with the cameras. And look at the crossfires that Fluffy Aimers have set up. Oh, they weren't expecting Twizzler to swing like that either. This round, completely different. Finally, a trade for Fluffy Aimers, but they still maintain the man disadvantage. Boss G goes for the DB&O, and all of a sudden, it's a 1v3, or pardon me, 1v4. One player low HP, that's Twizzler. Diffuser has been isolated in CAF CCTV, and this is a huge hill to climb. If you're a fan of Fluffy Aimers, that's a step in the right direction. 1 easy headshot, but still 3 more to go.
Vigil is on low enough HP that he can just shoot him in the toes and have him fall. But Thrive, they're going to look to fall back to the bomb side for the most part here. Emilio not going for the diffuser quite yet, as he wants to see if anyone's going to get overzealous and give up another pick, as he needs that to happen 3 more times. But everyone from Thrive, they're playing so carefully. They know that Emilio is capable of winning this if they give him the fights. So he's going to have to work for them. Slowly creeping his way around this doorway. Trying to pre-fire anything he can. He gets the pick on the Skunky. Only has 30 HP left, but HP advantage. Not much better for Thrive if he can just get a body shot onto Twist. That might be all he needs. 30 seconds left to work this. Going to rotate into Logi. Try to get a different angle. Mirror window. No longer going to be as much in effect. He's going to creep around top main, get the swing, but Moses is better in that fight, and Fluffy Aimers lose another defense, or another offense, as Thrive look to keep things close.
Thrive was just on the gas pedal the entire time that round. They did not stop taking fights, and they were pressuring Fluffy Aimers, forcing Fluffy Aimers to honestly sit and hold angles and just not really participate much in that round. I think out of the entire series so far, that was the most decisive round from Thrive, because it looked like they were just in control the entire time. They on the defending side were just setting the pace of the round, forcing Fluffy Aimers to play exactly into the hand and the strategy that Thrive created, and that was so well done for them. I'm excited to see what the Spaceman defense brings here at round 10 for Thrive, if they're able to replicate that, continue to deliver on a very strong, impactful row where they're able to find multiple opening kills, back-to-back kills, in fact. They could put themselves in a position to tie this series up going into round 11, but some of those critical operators that we've seen Thrive deliver those flashy plays with and those good kills aren't in the lineup. We don't see the Vigil, and to me, Ali, this shows that Thrive is going back to their old faithful and just isolate themselves onto the bomb play. That has never been successful. It's been the aggressive roam plays, and I guess you have the mute as your option of your roamer upstairs, but I'd like to see a little more emphasis put into that.
Yeah, if it's just Twist up here alone, that's something Fluffy Aimers can definitely isolate fairly easily. They are going to open up this plat wall very quickly, which Twist is going to look to play with a shotgun. But if they do just the slightest bit of due diligence and see that he is up here, that could potentially be a pinch. So far, though, the drone hasn't gone anywhere near him, which is a good sign for him so far, but it is effectively only him up there. There is a player poking up secret stairs, but just Twist, like you said, could be isolated so easily because he's by himself.
Where are the drones? That's the way to isolate them. With the drones, you should have had somebody there looking at the drone hole. That could have been a huge blunder. I mean, a sigh of relief there. You keep your Soul Hard Breacher alive. Sure, that 49 HP, but it really doesn't matter. You know that there's a player off-site. Now confirmed Twizzler is dead, and all right, that could have been real hairy there for Fluffy Aimers. Now it's time to slow down and realize they need to drone. You can see JJ bringing that drone from Strip Club. They're doing exactly that, making sure that there aren't any loose cannons in this round. Handle has been able to win rounds by lurking in odd places like toilets back in round number 2. So that no longer an option. But again, we talked about how Thrive, if they start to bunker down, they don't look particularly strong. All players who were left alive for Thrive are now in the bomb site proper. Sure, they have decent amounts of utility. They have the Goyos, they have the Azami barricades, and I guess you can even start to incorporate the Lucy Wubwubs into that equation. But they've had that before. Thrive has had that in their arsenal, and they have not been able to convert. So what are they able to do differently?
This is a bomb site they won previously, so they do have a good shot again. And if they can just shut out Fluffy Aimers, that might be all they need, which so far they do get man equality, but it's traded out very quickly, as Fluffy Aimers maintain this man advantage and then some, all left up to Candle, who's just around the boxes, and Deity has that pick. Because Fluffy Aimers, they just shut out the site. They trade their way to that victory and counter Thrive perfectly to bring themselves to map and match points.
I think the way to summarize this entire series, particularly that round we just saw, round 11, is it seems like if Thrive is malleable, where Fluffy Amers is able to manipulate the round and manipulate Thrive in any way that they want, it's usually a guaranteed win for Fluffy Amers. I think that comes down to JJ just being a really strong IGL. But rounds where Thrive sets the pace, they're able to dictate exactly what Fluffy Amers is doing throughout the round. That's the times that we see Thrive win. The previous round, the bunker defense, it was Fluffy Amers in control the entire duration of that 3-minute round. They were constantly setting the pace, they were dealing with roamers, even with Twist finding 1 kill. It just never really mattered. Now that we're going back down to the basement, I have concerns, Ali, because look what it is. It's another bunker-ish defense, where if Thrive just sits on this bomb site, they're going to die. There's going to be 5 coffins there, unless they're able to do something completely different. And so far, the defending lineup and where they're placing their reinforcement seems like it's just a copy and paste of the previous round. That's concerning, because this now gives some gamers almost full control of the map, and with map control equals map controls.
Yeah, especially with the proficiency that we know Fluffy Amers have when actually working a site and getting their ducks in a row. Just surrendering all that so quickly. I mean, it might not even be the final nail in the coffin. It might just be all of them. They are going to do a semi-extensive clear of the map here as we see JJ make his way into Raptors being droned in. Now we're going to see him make his way towards Oil Pit and actually drop Oil Pit. It looks like they know there's a player on Secret, and they're going to try to drive him down while JJ is holding this cutoff angle so they can get that opening pick. Or if someone looks to go reinforce him, that could be a pick as well. JJ only get a light one up, however. Rival is up inside of dirt as the others look to take control of the other extremities of the map. And we see, because Fluffy Amers know they have control of all this map early on, they're not afraid to get aggressive towards the site early on to just see what happens, because they don't have to rush being in control of anything.
2 minutes of map control just to manipulate this bomb site in any way you please is a ton of time. That's a critical death against Fluffy Amers. That's an impactful kill that Candle's found. You've now removed the EMPs. But the thing is, Cade is banned. Those EMPs probably aren't going to be particularly impactful. The real loss is those crossfires that Fluffy Amers have been able to set up. Deity finds 2, Ali. Deity has been on an absolute tear this entire series. Multiple back-to-back kills, and now doing that here in round 12, I mean, that's been the accelerating point for Fluffy Amers across other rounds, and I'm scared if I'm a fan of Thrive right now. How do you break these crossfires? What do you do? Look at the way that Fluffy Amers is setting up multiple entry points to be able to shut down Thrive. And another death against Thrive. This is looking bad.
4 versus 2 now, almost a 4 versus 1. Enrio looks to get aggressive. He needs to find something. He does, though. Diffuser is going down for Fluffy Amers. Deity secures the kill to make it happen. C4 goes out onto Emilio, but Recited has the plant down anyways. And Deity has the 4K to secure the map, secure the game, and send Fluffy Amers forwards into the tournament.
That was an incredible series from Fluffy Amers. They looked better at every single twist and turn. Every single time Thrive would try to do something, Fluffy Amers just were able to shut it down. It was the clutch potential. It was the ability just to win gunfights. I mean, how many kills do we see Deity get? 2Ks, 3Ks, 4Ks. It didn't matter. Deity just took map advantage and just simply won gunfights. When you incorporate the strong calling of JJ, the ability to set up crossfires, and the fact that Thrive was almost playing into the hands of JJ the entire series, it was just awkward from every single twist and turn. I mean, Fluffy Amers certainly deserve carrying themselves to the grand final and trying to take that lion's share of the $15,000.
So I would like to point out, right, because you highlighted Deity. Recently, another caster and I started a podcast, and we kind of talk about Tier 2 a lot because that's what it's centered around. And I made the prediction that, like, I think Deity is going to Pro League fairly soon, as he's kind of like a Tier 2 NJR almost. As if you've watched DZ, you'll see there'll be a round that, like, you know, looks like it's lost, and then all of a sudden NJR's killed 4 guys, and now they've won. And Deity kind of can do the same thing for Fluffy Amers a lot of the time, though he is on a much more frag-heavy role. So it is, I think, a little bit fitting that he is the one to close out that series and secure that victory and grand final spot for Fluffy Amers.
I'm just so excited to see what Lefebvre's bring to that grand final. Have we
Me too.
confirmed who's actually going to be? No, the other team hasn't won yet, so it's Makers versus Aerial Rise. But there might be an asterisk on that Makers might be moving forward because through the rumor mill that they might have disbanded. It's T2, T3. The disband hammer happens more frequently than you'd like. So it's Aerial Rise Makers play that other semifinal that will be taking place tomorrow if it does end up happily taking place.
Is going to be all from Chief and I for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to the wonderful production that we have here, High Tech Chad and Yali, as well as Unnamed, for keeping stuff up behind the scenes and making sure that we don't lose our minds. With that being said, that's going to be all from Chief and I for tonight. So have a good, wonderful night, and make sure you come back for the grand finals and potential semifinals.